All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. It is a Monday. It is the day before Christmas. 253-263-1540. 253-263-1540. We are theoretically live on YouTube. We are definitely live on TikTok because I see that right in front of me. And we're going to take your calls, 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. Hey now. I'm looking. To me, it looks good. I can't complain. Somebody will, though. That's inevitable. In fact, it's guaranteed. Thank you for all the support over there on TikTok. Thank you for the follows on YouTube and Twitch. So much going on as we close one year and open up the door to another. Wow. What a statement. Didn't even know I was going to say it. Welcome to the show. Good morning, everyone. Again, that number 253-263-1540. So Honda and Nissan are merging? Two cars. I've had several of each. I loved my Nissan Xterra. Loved my Nissan Xterra. Miss my Nissan Xterra in many ways. Have had two Nissan Xterras, actually. My first car was a Honda. But I'm always taken aback, and I always feel old when these legacy companies go away or consolidate. Party City is going away. Some other store is going away. Is it Big Lots? Somebody else is going away. So it's interesting to me, this idea of nothing is forever, particularly in business, where the oldest, finest of brands can actually wind up falling by the wayside or become so weakened that they're forced to consolidate. And I guess that's what's going on here with Honda and Nissan, as some would call it, Nissan. I don't really have a bad Honda experience. It was more a used car experience. Hondas are pretty reliable, very reliable. And I've always felt that Nissan makes a good car. I just find it interesting when you look back and you go, wow, who would have thought, right? You know, how many companies have we over the years seen fall by the wayside or consolidate into each other, merge into each other? And I don't know, maybe it's just the time of year, but it makes me feel a little old, right? It makes me feel a little nostalgic, a little old. But it was Party City and something else. There was another company. I want to say it was Big Lots, but whatever. If I can't remember the name, it might be part of the reason why it's going out of business, okay? Now, I say all that because I think no brand is impervious. It has come to my attention with the updates concerning the Magic Kingdom that there may be a give and take, as it were, some give and take with the updates in and around Frontierland. Now, I don't think that that's necessarily a death blow to the company, no matter what they choose to do there. But I do look around and I see the incomplete exterior of the new Polynesian Tower, which is already an eyesore, and it's just the time we're in. It's just the time we're in, and it's okay. Listen, sometimes you gotta hit the bottom to go up. But when you look at and I know some people, oh my God, are you just gonna complain about Disney? No. I didn't even want to start the conversation off with Disney, but I wound up over here. But when you look at these companies, because I was listening to the news this morning, merging, and you just realize that no one company is No one company is really too big to fail. I don't wish it on any business because there's employees and families attached. But you have to question at a certain point how you get here. And part of it is technology. The internet is a massive part of all of it, right? But I look at that and I go, wow, how old am I? How old am I? Now, if you know your Disney history, you go back to pre-Michael Eisner, and the company was on the chopping block. The company was on the chopping block. It's the nature of the beast in many ways. It's the nature of the beast. But I have to tell you, this notion that the public doesn't want sequels and remakes, while in many ways, I think when you look at Disney and you can say enough with the live action remakes, we expect better, you have to look at the box office this past weekend and look at how Sonic 3 trounced Mufasa. And you have to say to yourself, well, maybe it's less about sequelization and more about quality of story. And I don't know what the story quality is with Sonic 3, but clearly it resonated. So if it's not the notion of the sequels and the oversaturation of all these franchise and spin-offs and all that, then you have to ask yourself, what is it? And it really could just be a lack of creativity. But it's fascinating to me that Sonic 3 trounced that. I think Mufasa brought it. Did anybody even see it, by the way? Please call in and tell me if you saw it. I would love to hear a review. I obviously have not seen it. I still haven't seen Wicked. 253-263-1540. 253-263-1540. I think Mufasa brought in $35 million. Opening weekend. That's a bomb. Sonic 3. And then I read, now it's on Twitter, take that with a grain of salt, that Disney was muting or hiding comments because they were trying to say that it was the number one movie worldwide, Mufasa. So people were commenting, and I guess it got ratioed, and then Disney started moderating the comments. So very fragile time for the Bob Iger company, as they like to call it, by the way. That's the new pejorative I've noticed. There's a lot of people on there. You know, I heard Josh Harris say it when we talked to him on the podcast, but I didn't. This notion that it's no longer the Walt Disney Company, it's the Bob Iger company. It's kind of a silly idea, but at the same time, you know, the statement is loud. I do think if you look at the box office and you look at the fact that Sonic 3 can trounce something like Mufasa, then you do have to look and go, okay, well, wait a second. Maybe we do have a treasure trove of IP, but we're just not doing it right. I don't know who asked for the Mufasa movie. I'd rather see the backstory to the Seven Dwarves. And by the way, when does that movie come out? When does this Snow White movie come out? I feel like that movie's been coming out for a year. When does that movie come out? Not that I'm even looking forward to it. I really am curious. Did anybody see Mufasa? You know, the funny thing about The Lion King is it's Hamlet. So what's Mufasa? 253-263-1540. 253-263-1540. I haven't seen any of the Sonic movies. Now, we're a couple days away from Christmas. The parks are going to be packed. The whatever they're calling the deluxe lightning lane, the multi-guest experience. What is the new the super expensive? Basically, the Dash Pass they're charging for, because that's what it is, right? It's sold out. I read. It's sold out. So you really can't fault a company for creating a product if it's, I mean, now granted, what does sold out mean? Who knows how many they actually had, right? It's very easy to say something's sold out if you're not sharing numbers. But I spoke to somebody who used it over the weekend firsthand, okay, on multiple days, who said that for them, it was great because as an AP, for the price they were paying, it allowed them to run around the park, just go up to a ride, swipe into the ride, no scheduling needed, knock it off your list, move on to the next one. So it's a paid DAS pass, which I knew they were going to do, And you have to look at that and go, okay, people are paying for this. Now, whatever, I don't know how many they're actually selling out. Like I said, I have no idea what they're actually selling out. Who knows? Maybe they only have 500 of these they're selling out. Maybe there's 100. I don't know. So it's very easy to say we sold out of something when nobody knows how. Well, I had 3 of them available. Of course you sold out. But whatever it is, people are buying it. So now you look at that on top of the price to get into the park, and you're like, it is like $500 a day for a person, if you want to do it that way, to go to Disney World. And the parks are busier than ever. And going into next year, every single park is going to have less than they've had in recent years because of construction and updates, so on and so forth. Charging more than ever, and no problem with demand, and soon will be offering less than they've had to offer in quite some time. That's in Epcot, that's in Animal Kingdom, that's going to be in Hollywood Studios, and of course in the Magic Kingdom. Fine. But if you just take the Disney out of the conversation and just look at it like supply and demand, you really can't fault a company who can get away with doing whatever they want because people continue to give it to them. Right? You can't. The saying is you can't have your cake and eat it too. But it turns out that's all people do, right? That's all. I mean, otherwise, what are you doing with the cake? It's just sitting there. People, that's what they do. They have their cake, they eat it too. The only way that a company like Disney will ever find itself susceptible to, well, there'll be 2 ways, but the only way that it'll find itself susceptible to a merger, okay, is either much like the auto conversation, that's the only way they'll survive, which I don't think that is plausible, at least not anytime soon. Or it's a choice. I am of the mindset that the way the company is currently being managed is with the plan to slim it down and sell it off. I firmly believe that. And with all the conversations I've had with people over the last couple months, particularly, both publicly and privately, I think if you're looking at the future of the entertainment industry as a whole and seeing how competitive that's gotten and how few studios are left, it's inevitable. It's inevitable that every studio in Hollywood is going to become a tech company or paired with a tech company. So I think at some point, and it is what it is, but at some point, it's almost like these decisions, which fine, you have to accept them because that's the way business works, but these decisions are being made to slim down the company for an acquisition. And I'm gonna hold firm on that. Iger wrote it in his book that if Steve Jobs was alive, they would have merged the 2 companies then. And I think whoever the next CEO is, it will be under a slimmed down, if not merged, entity. I firmly believe that. There's a whole bunch of cable properties that the Walt Disney Company doesn't need, or what's left of those cable properties, much like the NBC of it all, although I believe they have far more. I haven't actually counted, but I do believe NBC Universal has far more cable properties at this point in the equation, but they're spinning them off. So if the Walt Disney Company merges with a company like Apple or something like that, where I would have once said, hey, listen, I'm against that. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of the company, being owned by somebody else. I actually think that might be the best play. I'm beginning to think that the best play for the Walt Disney Company truly is that merger with Apple. You can say, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But look at Apple and look at design, right? Look at the way Apple has designed not just their products, but their buildings, look, their stores. It kind of makes sense. An Apple-Disney merger makes perfect sense. And at least with Apple, you know that they've got the deep pockets and the will for design to maybe bring Epcot back into its former self. Because I think Epcot has lost its way. And I firmly believe that Epcot needs an overhaul. And even though we waited for years for the walls to come down in Epcot, it was all for naught. Turns out we waited all those years for what I love, but it's a park, right? With a tiny little building that could be knocked down and rebuilt. So I think if we're talking about a merger or an acquisition of the Walt Disney Company, Apple, only because of the history and the fact that it's in Iger's book, doesn't make it all but obvious. But it makes sense. I mean, the Pixar of it all, the way that Apple and Disney worked together in the early days of iPod video. There's so many pieces that connect the two. So I would suggest that maybe with a company like Apple at the helm, you might actually get a return to excellence when it comes to design and it comes to thematic integrity and things like that, because Apple prides itself on style and theme. Now, I couldn't tell you what number iPhone I have. I have no idea what number iPhone I have. They all look the same to me. Every iPhone looks the same to me. But if it's not broke, don't fix it. I mean, they can sell you a new iPhone because they can put 3 new features on it and people will buy it. But guess what? That goes back to that supply and demand equation. People line up to buy the iPhone. I just keep using them until it doesn't work anymore, and then I get a new one. I don't know. I think I have a 14 Pro Max and a 15 Pro Mini. I don't know. And in many ways, Apple has just become a glorified consumer products company, but I'll take it. I'll take it. I find it very interesting. I find it very interesting at this age. And again, I think part of it for me is the holidays, to look at legacy companies, and I perceive Honda and Nissan to be legacy companies merging for survival. And I think when you look at a company like NBC Universal being proactive by spinning off their cable assets, and there's been a lot of mergers and divesting and all of this over the years with Hollywood. It's kind of like the tide. It goes in and it comes in, it goes out. But if NBC Universal is being proactive in slimming itself down, I would suggest it's probably because they see a merger on the horizon as well. So if you look at the roadmap of that company, it may very well mirror what's to come for the Walt Disney Company. Now, I, at one point, would have thought Comcast, NBC, it's a mouthful, Comcast, NBC, Universal would merge with, what is it now? Discovery, Time Warner. I mean, Jesus, what kind of company is that? But who knows? It's the tech companies that really want them, right? It's the tech companies that really want them, and AT&T and Warner Brothers. And by the way, and they've already started. They've unwrapped their relationship or detangled their relationship. Not that I consider AT&T truly a tech company; it's a telco. But I was looking this up this morning. The failed history of AT&T and Warner Brothers mergers and acquisitions over the years is fascinating. Fascinating to me how many times over the years that Warner has made a bad merger acquisition. They bought Atari, which had Chuck E. Cheese. They got rid of that. These are just the ones I'm thinking of off the top of my head. There was the AOL merger. That was a massive bomb. Okay. And then when they got in bed with AT&T, they started gobbling up, I think it was like Crunchyroll and, what was there was a gaming streaming gaming platform they bought for a while. They bought up basically a whole bunch of like micro, what do they call it? Narrowcasting sites, a bunch of different video content creation sites like the Crunchyrolls and Machinima, all failed acquisitions. All, buy them for millions upon millions of dollars, and then they just go away, which is almost sounds like a money laundering scheme. Which brings me to my next story. I so often read the Hollywood Reporter, and the Hollywood Reporter is a trade magazine that, has evolved to an internet blog. And there's 3 or 4 quote unquote trades that are all now owned by the same company, Penske Media. But the Hollywood Reporter doesn't tend to be snarky. The Hollywood Reporter tends to be more, I don't want to say vanilla, but they're a little safer. They're a little safer. If you're familiar with Deadline, Deadline.com was once Nikki Fink. Nikki Fink was, a rule breaker, and I mean, she was iconic in her own right. But that evolved and became safer. But Deadline is still the more daring side of those brands. But my point is all of this. The Hollywood Reporter basically accused Disney of using Star Wars as a money laundering operation. And I know it's just snark, but I'm like, they wrote this in the Hollywood Reporter. Another Star Wars film pushed. Another Star Wars trilogy announced. Does anybody think these announcements are real and not a money laundering scheme? Another Star Wars series that flopped. This talking about Andor. $180 million and generated massive controversy and fan division. But also, how many times can Disney blame its audience for not liking what it makes? The franchise's new kids show, Skeleton Crew, is getting good reviews for its first 2 episodes, so that at least is something. Part of the blowback against Lucasfilm film boss Kathleen Kennedy is people are just jealous. Who doesn't want to be able to have projects repeatedly stumble and still keep one of Hollywood's top jobs? The rest of us can only dream. That's just an excerpt. And that's not even the main article. They've got 2 articles right now. And I don't know if that was Andor or the other series, whatever that new Acolyte. But listen, if the Hollywood Reporter is trashing Star Wars and Lucasfilm and Disney, that should be a red flag. That is not the type of thing I expect to see in the Hollywood Reporter. And I always like to joke that something's a money laundering scheme. So, well played there. But you got to ask yourself what's going on these days. And I think it really does boil down to just a lack of quality. And we, as a consumer, have become so we consume, right? And then when we're done consuming, we just consume something else somewhere else. Do you understand? So you go from your cup of coffee to your scrolling, to your emails, to your meeting, to your phone call. Maybe you pick up the paper, you read a little bit of the newspaper, God forbid. Right? Then you have another cup of coffee. Maybe you smoke a cigarette, right? Whatever you do, right? And then it's time to eat. Consume. So we're constantly consuming. And I think what has happened is because everything has been boiled down to consumption and access, right? If you look at your music, if you look at your television or your content, it's all monthly. for the most part, right? So it's access, right? It's access and it's consumption. And everything now is competing with everything. It's no longer a TV show competing with a TV show, right? A TV show's got to compete with a podcast. A podcast has got to compete with a TikTok Live. A TikTok Live has got to compete with a meeting because you might be got one ear on the meeting and one ear on the TikTok Live, right? So it's now everything that we consume is competing with everything that we consume. What does that mean? That means the standard of quality drops across the board because anything can be consumed as competition to consumption. So whether it's, hey, I'm going to the movies or I'm going to read a book or I'm just going to doom scroll Instagram or Twitter, it doesn't matter anymore, right? Now you're consuming. The quality becomes irrelevant. I mean, I was live the other night in the garage just doing test stuff, and like regular viewers were like, oh, I was doom scrolling. I just thought I'd pop in. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad to be the filter tray to your doom scrolling. Like I caught you at the bottom of the sieve. It's interesting to think about access and consumption. We consume. And because everything is access and consumption, what does that mean? You pay access to your Netflix. How often do you actually consume it, at least at a quality level? No, I can tell you as somebody that has very few of these platforms anymore, I would spend more time scrolling the menu than actually watching anything. And that would become the consumption. That would become the entertainment, right? Oh, no, I'm not going to watch that movie. I already know how that movie goes. I'm not going to watch that one. I know how that goes. All right, never. Just turn it off. And then you go, oh, hey, Alexa, play this song. And then she plays the song, right? And then you're like, you know what? And then you open up some dumb gaming app on your phone for 30. You know what I mean? And now what it is it's just consume, but there's no quality. It's all a variety of doom scrolling. And I think that, so now what happens is that the quality drops because the quality no longer becomes relevant. So if you're a company like the Walt Disney Company, or if you're a company like Warner, okay, then you realize you don't have quality was never a factor for you, but it's become less and less a factor. Less and less a factor because the audience doesn't care about quality anymore. I look at the video. I saw a video this morning at like 6:30 in the morning, and the guy was like, I run a restaurant. Every night I buy a pre-made lasagna. And he's showing you the video, right? And he's like, and I sell this pre-made dish that costs $2 for $35. And I like to pair it. And then he throws some frozen meatballs in the deep fryer. One of them falls on the ground. He goes, 5-second rule. He picks it up, right? And it's got like 100,000 likes. It's got like 100,000 likes. And then people are in there arguing like, does he even really do this? Well, I don't know if he does it, but other people do it. So maybe he's not doing it. Maybe he's just doing it for the view. And then I'm like, what y'all are wasting your time in this conversation for? And then I'm like, I'm reading it. At least I'm going to turn it into more crap content by talking about it for 3 seconds. But I'm like, what is this? It's like this content that it's almost like outrage content. Or there'll be like, I'm going to show you how to fill a hole in your kitchen table with a cup of noodles and some glue. And you're like, nobody does that. But there's a whole genre of people filling holes with cups of noodles. We are no longer content with what we have. I agree wholeheartedly. We're always looking for more. And it's just chasing these little dopamine hits. It's chasing a little dopamine hit after a little dopamine hit. There's no desire for quality. 253-263-1540. Sorry, I had to text Ellis's mom because she's supposed to call in. I'm not one to get upset at Star Wars. I don't really care. Like, do what you want with it. But when the Hollywood Reporter is coming for you, and it's a new day. It's a new day. And I find it very, very interesting to see those walls being torn down. Never in a million years are you supposed to, as the Hollywood Reporter, not only come for Star Wars, but come for Disney. Like, you just wouldn't do that. It's bad business, right? You're not going to get the next interview, whatever. They don't care. They don't care. And almost you'd be disingenuous to not call it out. And I look at that and I go, well, look, it doesn't really matter to Disney. They spent the money. They've made their money. They can afford to put out whatever they want, especially with Disney Plus, because as long as they've got more tiles up on the screen, right, then you have access to more stuff to consume. And they don't care if you only watch one episode of The Acolyte and turn it off, because the offering is there and the value, the perceived value is there. Whether you like the show or not, you have created value by complaining about it, right? So now you pay your monthly fee for Disney Plus, you watch one episode of something you don't like, and even if you're out there talking about it, you're still talking about it. So they don't care, right? And the fact that they can add something else and they can hype it up, it's just like, oh, Disney Plus, there's all this stuff on Disney Plus. Well, it doesn't matter if it's all bad, because if you're not watching it, you'll never know. Just check this one out, move on to the next one. What do we care? We got your card on file. We don't care if it's quality. If we throw enough crap in your face, you're not going to watch it all anyway, right? So if we inundate you with a lack of quality content as opposed to one or two pieces of quality content, but we inundate you and just throw a ton of low-grade content in your face, you'll never be able to absorb it all, right? So you'll never be able to differentiate. If you had 1, 2, 3 good pieces of content coming out from a company, then you'd go, oh, wow, everybody would have an opportunity, and you go, oh, wow, I saw that. It was really, really good. Oh, no, maybe it wasn't. But now everything's competing with everything. I mean, eating a sandwich is competing with scrolling on Twitter. So why do you need to spend all the money in the world to make a good movie when you can just market it and just cut your losses? It's the truth. It's the truth. There's no competition for Netflix. There's no competition for Netflix. The idea of Paramount Plus is a Band-Aid. The idea of even Disney Plus was a Band-Aid. Netflix comes along at a time where the TV industry doesn't know what to do with itself. The TV industry has all of this content. Netflix decides, hey, listen, we're going to give you a bunch of money, and we're going to take all of your shows. You don't have anywhere. You don't know what to do with them. And the TV industry says, oh my gosh, free money. And they feed the beast. So even though they're taking this money, Netflix now suddenly has, remember when Netflix had everything? You could watch everything. Friends and everything was on Netflix. Everything was on Netflix. And then they go, oh my gosh, we built the enemy. We got to pull our content back and start creating our own streamers, because this is really working for them, right? Disney with Disney Plus really is the only one to have successfully come up against Netflix. HBO had a HBO Go, HBO Now, OTT, which is just a fancy word for streaming over the top, before there was ever a desire with Max to be a competitor to Netflix. So HBO was already doing some sort of on-demand product well before Max. So I kind of carved that out. But other than that, I mean, there's no competition for Netflix. And now you go, okay, well, so all of those shows went away. They went back to their respective streamers. And now Netflix just has an oversaturation of docu-series and reality shows and true crime docu stuff. So now, and every once in a while, they'll get a Tiger King, or if they're lucky, they'll get a Squid Game with some original content. But the days of House of Cards are gone. You know, Netflix spent something like $90 million on the first season of House of Cards. They're not going to do that now. Maybe every once in a blue moon you get something like that. Amazon just spent a boatload of money on that dumb Mr. Beast show. And I don't mean to be overtly negative. Usually I mask that. Wouldn't say brilliant and just be sarcastic about it. That's kind of the nicer way to do it. But my gripe there is you spent all this money to build a city for a game show, but you can't build a city to take care of the homeless? But you can build it for a game show on Amazon? Who's watching Amazon? Meanwhile, I get all my music on Amazon, so don't judge me. You're on the air. Who's this?
Oh, it's Stephanie. Good morning.
Oh, my gosh, Stephanie. How are you okay?
I'm awesome.
Good to hear it.
I wanted to call and talk to you about Ellis's World.
Oh, no. I'm busy right now.
You sure you don't want to hear about Ellis's World?
Well, let me just set this up really quick because first of all, I'm at the dermatologist. All right. And
boy. Oh, wait, are you really going to go all the way back to that?
No, give me 30 seconds. I got a radio show to do. And my phone, I'm in the little paper gown, and my phone is ringing in the pants across the way, and I thought it was Ellis calling because only Ellis calls at the worst times. And it was you. And not only was it you, but it was you yelling at my voicemail for 5 minutes because you didn't know how to hang up on it while you were driving. So now I'm sitting there in this paper gown, reading this visual voicemail, laughing, just hoping that nobody walks in because it's the weirdest setup. All right. And I'm like, what? I'm like, close enough. It wasn't Ellis, but you're like, call me back. I have to tell you a story.
That's correct.
Well, that's your cue, Stephanie.
Okay. So that day was a crazy day, and I was running around, and we had a party to go to, and I was like, Ellis, I'm going to be doing all these things. And I gave him a list of things he needed to do. And he was like, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to wear that. I go, okay, Ellis, just whatever. And I said, just do whatever you want, okay? And he goes, well, it is at my world. And I go, what did you say? And he goes, Ellis's world. It's my world. And I'm like, whoa. Okay, I think you need to go upstairs. Let me take a deep breath here. So I go upstairs later on, and I'm wrapping gifts. Meanwhile, my daughter had called him about something else, and she's like, Ellis, you need to give Mom a break. She's really stressed out and whatever. So he walks up to me, and he's like, Mom, are you stressed out? And I'm like, no, not really. Just, a little hectic right now. I said, but what's really bothering me, Ellis, is that you told me that I live in your world. And I said, I don't live in your world. We all live in a world together, and you are a big part of it, but it's not your world. You have to share with everyone else. And he's just looking at me like I'm crazy. And he goes, well, Roy says it all the time. It's Ellis's world. And I'm like, Roy said that? And he's like, yes. And I go, oh, Roy, it's okay. He goes, Roy says it all the time. This is just Ellis's world, and we live in it. And I'm like, well, do you understand what that means? I mean, are you really getting it? And he didn't. Like, I could see it in his face. He was looking at me like I was speaking a foreign language and just out of touch. And I'm like, okay, Ellis, so I totally explained it to him. And he goes, oh, well, I didn't mean any harm. I really didn't, Mom. And I didn't want to hurt your feelings. And I'm like, okay. I go, let me get old Royce on the phone. So I can't wait. I'm laughing. So I get in the car, and my daughter had been at a Christmas party and had a few little margaritas, and I had to drive her because she had been drinking. And she gets in the car, and I'm leaving a voicemail for Royce as she gets in the car. And so we're talking. She's really animated, and I'm trying to hang up my Bluetooth, and it will not hang up. And she goes, Mom, what is wrong with you? You didn't hang up on Royce, and all this is on Royce's voicemail. I'm like, oh, boy, here we go. So Royce finally calls us back, and we're walking into the Dollar General store. Meanwhile, some guy is shoplifting, running out of the store, shoplifting Tide detergents out of a big bucket. And Royce and I are chatting about Ellis's world. It was a fun day, Royce, I have to say.
First of all,
you peppered up your afternoon, don't you think?
First of all, this is what you get for uninviting me to Christmas.
That was Ellis uninviting you.
Well, right, but Ellis invited me to Christmas
What did he
without
say? What did he
asking,
say?
and then you said no, there's no room.
There's no room in the inn.
Ellis said I could sit
No.
outside in the cabana,
Well, you could.
but he's got it all figured out. He's got an answer for everything. But the audacity to throw
yes,
me
he does.
under the bus, I mean that is ridiculous.
Well, after the fact, I really felt better when he said he learned it from you.
Oh, thanks.
That it wasn't really coming from him.
No, but it's
Because
lost
then
on
I
him.
really would have had a three-headed monster.
No, first of all, we've created a monster. Okay, created a
Yeah.
monster, and much like a video game boss, he must be destroyed, and we're gonna have to figure this out. So, look, with our forces combined, I think we can take him down. I think we can figure this out.
Oh, no.
He's out of control. He said, Stephanie. He said to me, "Where is he? Is he near? Is he listening?"
Yeah, I'm in my room. He's in the den.
All
He's
right,
like, Mom, are you calling into Royce's station? I'm like, how did you know? He goes, because Royce told me.
I'm going to speak to you in code.
Okay.
I'm not going to do what you did on the phone to me the other day, which I can't say out loud because we'll both get in trouble. But he keeps asking me about the PACKAGE.
Yeah.
Right? And
No. Yeah.
it's a very busy time of year. So
yeah, the Eagle hasn't landed.
I told him the package hasn't landed. I told him yesterday to go out to the front door and just start whistling until somebody looks and ask them if they've seen a mailman. Because it doesn't matter what I say
his
anymore.
Bedroom is in the front. I know. Oh, I know. His bedroom is in the front of the house, and so he has like the Ring camera on his phone or the Amazon something, and when anybody comes by the door, he knows, and you can just see his window opens the curtains, and he starts looking out to see who's coming and who's there.
Oh, look, it's like a bad novel.
Like Mrs. Kravitz of the neighborhood.
Yeah, no, seriously. it's like I don't know what it is. And so and so that's why I've learned with him just to say anything because it doesn't matter what you say. But you told me on that same call, I don't know if it was that day or the day before, like you left the house and like 5 minutes later the phone rang and he's like, "Where are you now?"
Oh yeah. So when I leave, he's like, "Okay, where are you going?" No, first thing, what do you have on tap today? What's on your agenda today? And I say, well, Alice, today I'm doing, and I give him my list. So I said, okay, I'll see you later. I'll be back later on. Okay. And about 30 minutes later, okay, where are you now? And I get those periodically throughout the day.
What you need to start doing, just hear me out.
Check-in.
Tell him there's a 7 a.m. board meeting every day to go over the minutes for the agenda. And if he doesn't make the 7 a.m. meeting, then there'll just be then he just has to get the information later. He'll give up so fast. Like, you missed the meeting. Well, where are you going? Ellis, it was at the 7 o'clock meeting. Where were you? You slept in? I'm sorry. Check the minutes. He'll never read the minutes. You just put like a grocery list out. You know what I mean? He'll give up. He'll go right to TikTok.
Yeah, of course.
I love him, though. He's a gift. He's a gift of comedy. He's a pain in my tuchus, but he's a gift of comedy.
He's a gift that keeps on giving.
Well, that's a very sweet way of saying it.
Yes, he is.
So the new battle is going to Jazz Fest, but he wants me to go to Mardi Gras.
Well, right. He wants you to come here. So I said he's more than welcome to come from Mardi Gras, but I think you would have more fun. Well, not that Mardi Gras isn't fun, because it is, but I know how much you love live music, and Jazz Fest has a lineup like no other, and every weekend it's different. And the food is incredible, the live music. I mean, there's a lot to see. There's a lot of culture. I mean, it'd be a lot of content for you as well.
It sounds
and
fantastic.
I think your audience would really love it.
Oh, well, so he called in the other day. I was just live, like not doing the radio show. He just called in on my phone and put him on speakerphone. And I said, you like Mardi Gras because of the women. You've never seen somebody so flustered. Like a fish out of water, just flubbing on the deck. I mean, and
oh, I'm sure.
Like I would have. Stephanie, there was a time I would have never done that to him, but he's earned it.
Oh yeah, I think his skin's pretty thick.
What'd you say?
I think his skin is pretty thick. He can handle it.
Oh yeah, no, I know.
You rib him all the time. Peter messes with him. You know, he used to like. He can take it. Everybody messes with him because he messes with other people, but he doesn't like to be messed with. But I think now he's getting the picture of give and take.
Yeah, but most people, at least with my audience, do not understand that he's messing with them. So he gets over on so many people. He plays that game, you know?
Oh, I know.
Just keep going. Just wear him down. I mean, Ellis would be like the greatest car salesman of all time. Do you know how many cars Ellis could sell? Have you thought about doing that, Stephanie? Yeah. Yeah, people with money to burn would just buy the car to get the hell out of there. Do you know what I mean? It's just the right kind of customer. You just got to put them in the right car dealership. Beverly Hills car dealership. We're making bank.
So up until a couple of years ago, Ellis would say, okay, I'm making my Christmas list. And it'd be like a front and a back of a legal pad. So, you know, big. And I mean, like 100 things on it. And then now it's only maybe, he's like, well, my big gift is Disney World. I want to go to Disney again. And so I said, okay. And then he asked for a couple of games and some Stitch stuff. And I'm like, well, Ellis, you know, you're on the Stitch kick right now. You got Stitch everywhere. I mean, how much more can you get? He goes, whatever they got.
Whatever they got.
So, whatever they got. So it's been like, it's going to be a Stitch Christmas and Disney. But this year, he really only had like 4 things on his list, which is usually, I'm not kidding, a legal pad full. But it hadn't been that way in years because he says his big gift is Disney World, and that's a lot.
See,
he understands that.
If I was you, I would be pushing the bounds of the phrase, whatever they got. And I would be getting all of like the Stitch, like female, like clothing. I'd be like, whatever they got, bro. And like, I would just go all the other, I would challenge everything, which is probably why I should never be a parent.
Right.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
You'd be a good parent.
No, because if he was my kid, I'd be like, well, here you go. Here's the Stitch stockings. You know, here's like, I would go like completely the other direction and be like, let's just see how far you really want to take this, buddy.
Well, the other day, so my niece, Marianne, her birthday was yesterday. And every time Shrek comes on, I don't even know the line, but not the gumdrop buttons or whatever it is. He loves that part of the movie, and they say it all the time. And so whenever he sees Marianne, he says, no, not the gumdrop button. So I was at Walmart last month, and they had a T-shirt. I was in the T-shirt section looking for something for Ellis, Stitch. And I saw that shirt, and it was a girl shirt. And they only had one for her. So I bought it, and he's like, you bought this for me? And I go, no, that's for Marianne. He goes, well, where's mine? And I said, well, you don't have one because it didn't come in a man size and no men. And he's like, oh, are you sure? And I'm like, Ellis, I'm positive because I would have got you a matching one for Marianne, but I'm sending this on to Marianne so she can wear it during the holidays. He was so bummed out. But he doesn't, like, when he sees, like, we're at a store and he sees, like, Stitch socks or whatever, he doesn't care if they're girl or boy. He'll wear them.
Oh, I'm the same way though. I saw a pair of $3 Stitch socks at Walmart that were like ankles. I like ankle socks. I like the look of not wearing socks without
That's what I bought them.
Yeah, because I like to look like I'm not wearing socks, but I want to wear socks. So I see these Stitch ankle socks for $3, and they're probably too small anyway, and they're girls' socks. My first thought was Ellis is going to love these because that's just what I thought. My second thought was I'm going to love them more. And I wore them. I wore them yesterday, Stephanie. And they're like paper thin on me because they're stretching. But you know what? Nobody can tell. And then I mix and match them. Nobody knows.
It's so funny because Ellis has those same socks, and he wears them with like around the house or whatever. And so the other day we were going through something, and I said, "Ellis, we need to throw those Stitch socks away." I said, "They have holes at the bottom," and he's like, "Oh, that's okay." I said, "Oh no, we can get more." And he was like, "Oh, okay." Like, but same thing with him. I mean, they got very thin, and we had to throw them out.
Okay, wait. Just that voice you did reminded me of something else. If you have a moment, please just share with me again the story of you trying to sit down on the couch with the baby and Ellis not moving his feet.
Wait, which one was that?
Which one was that? Honestly, you got a memoir. Your memoir should be called Raising Ellis. A story of anything goes. You said
what did he do? Because most of the time, he's like, well, the new phrase is, "Are the little ones coming over today?"
The little ones.
Now it used to be just be one baby, but now we have 3.
He's threatened.
And so he's like, "Are the little ones coming today?"
He's so threatened.
In the beginning, when it was just Lane, he's like, I would, Taylor would come over. I would be watching the baby for her, and he'd be like, "Oh no, not again."
You it just cracks me up though because I
getting more used to it.
People don't realize, like, you'll text me just randomly some of these stories. You'd be like, "Oh my God, Peter and I are just cracking up right now. Ellis just said this," random stuff. And so one day, I think you just texted me or something, and you were like, "I'm holding the baby." Oh, you sent me a picture, and it's like Ellis is stretched out on the couch. Okay, he's got he's watching TikTok.
Yeah, every day.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'll let you tell it. I mean, I know the story, but it's funnier to hear it from you.
Well, I mean, I can just visualize it because it's every day. Like, he lays on the sofa with his feet propped up, crossed, and he's got his phone, and he's listening or watching Royce, and it's every day. And so he's sitting or laying on the sofa where I usually sit on the end by the table. And I'm holding the baby, and I'm like, "Well, Ellis, do you think you can move your feet over a little bit?" And like, he moved them like hardly at all. And I'm like, "Well, just a little bit more, because I really don't want to be smelling your feet. Can you just a little bit more?" And he goes, "Okay."
How dare you?
It's all about him.
Well, it's his
How
world.
How dare you with the baby? Yeah, it's his world.
I still can't believe he threw me. Whatever packages do show up, just throw them out at this point. Return the sender.
A day in the life.
Well, but I mean,
a day in the life.
Stephanie, there's 3 packages. I think he's only gotten 1 so far. He doesn't need them all. Do you have a wood chipper?
Yeah, Ellis.
No. I don't even know what that means. Do you have a wood chipper? Does Peter have a wood chipper?
No, I don't know what that means.
You take the tree limbs and it makes mulch.
Oh yeah, and you stick them in the thing and it goes through. Yes, I know what that is.
So get Peter, get the phone out, and have Peter with the packages threaten to throw them in the wood chipper and film the video and send it to me, please.
Well, he's hearing all this stuff.
Oh, I don't care. He's sweating right now.
He's laughing in the other room. I can hear
He's
him.
laughing. Let me tell you something. There's a delay, too, so he hasn't even heard that part yet.
What's funny is sometimes, like, I'll be somewhere in the house, but I can hear you. And sometimes I can barely hear you, but I can hear Ellis giggling.
Oh, my. His giggle's infectious, though. So.
Yes, it is.
I don't want to hold you up, but for all the laughs, one of the first things that I asked, you all when I met you the first time was, what's up with Ellis? And if you don't mind sharing, I mean, what's up with Ellis? Because people want to know. And I mean, we all love Ellis, and it's all with affection. But I mean, like, do you mind like shedding? Because I told you I wanted to sit down and interview you about like Ellis growing up at some point, which I think we still should do, especially if I come there, it'd be easier. But can you give us a little insight into?
I don't have time to say about Ellis today. I don't have time to talk about that today.
That's fine.
But you want me to tell you the story about you?
No, because I don't know what that story is.
I'll tell you the story. Well, here it comes. So I had been hearing Royce's voice for months, and I'm like, what is it? This is years ago. I go, what are you doing, Ellis? What is this? He goes, I'm looking at Disney World, Mom. And I'm like, wow, let me see that. And so, you don't see Royce, but you hear his voice and walking around Disney. I'm like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. Okay. So, and then I hear Royce say, so, Ellis, we're going to go see Peter Pan next. I'm like, what? He said your name. Who was talking to you, Ellis? And he goes, Royce. And I'm like, who the hell is Royce? And he goes, the guy at Disney World, my friend. And I'm like, oh, okay. So fast forward, we have a trip to Disney, and Ellis says, Mom, my friend Royce is going to meet us. Oh, I can't say everything, but
there's a lot of things we can't say.
I said, right. I said, oh, okay, your friend Royce, and I'm like, Ellis,
wait, Stephanie. I mean, knowing Stephanie, she probably said, you're going to go meet some crazy SOB off the internet. Go on.
Well, yes, it was a lot of that, and so I'm like, so I totally forgot, and he didn't say anything. So we get to Disney World, and Ellis has an extra pep in his step, and he's like pumped up. And so we're walking from the Swan Reserve to, I forgot where we were walking, but we were going down the boardwalk. And he goes, this is perfect. This is it. This is where Royce is going to be. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, we're meeting my friend Royce right up here on the right. So Ellis had it all planned out, okay? And I'm thinking, okay, I have Peter, my son-in-law, Daniel. If he's some wacko, we can take him.
Boy, were you wrong.
So we meet Royce, and we totally fell in love with him on the first time we met him. And so we started talking, and so we like, oh, thank you, and we talked, and he's like, where are y'all going? And we go this way. He goes, well, y'all are walking the wrong way. Y'all need to be going that way. So Royce said, I'll walk with y'all. So we walked, and we hung out, and then they did a little bit of, Royce was streaming with Ellis, and we just had the best time, and we went out to dinner. And then the next thing you know, we're like, Royce, we really, if you'd like to come with us, we'd love to have you. Don't think we're stalking you. and we've been fast friends ever since.
Well, it's a very sweet way of telling it. The real story is way funnier, but that's a different platform. So I will say this, though. The shock on your face when I showed you the Ray video with the millions of views, because you guys had no clue.
Oh, we had no clue. Mm-mm. I was shocked.
Been a wild ride.
Peter was the one who was more shocked than me.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing.
Talks about that.
Ellis does not like when Peter and I start hanging out, like, because we gang up on him very quickly. And, like, again, it's all with love and affection, right? But it's relentless.
Of course.
And then if Peter's giving me rope, I'm just doubling down. Like, there was that time that, like, Ellis was freaking out because of the cast member with Stitch. And I'm like, all right, bye.
Oh,
bye.
Yeah, we let him in the lawn.
Peter's just howling. I'm like, bye, Ellis. Goodbye. Because he won't really leave. Because it turns out the umbilical cord is about 6 feet long.
Well, it's really longer than that. I can stay in the old Metairie area pretty well.
Wait till he discovers air tags. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get Ellis an air tag. I'm going to teach you how to use it.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
All right, well, maybe I shouldn't have said that because now I'm going to hear that. What's an AirTag? Could you really help me track my mom's movements?
Oh, God, boy. Oh, wait, no, he did ask for location services one time on the phone. He goes,
Decline.
you can track me and I can track you. I'm like, no, thank you.
That's when I would have been like, Ellis, or we could not track each other, and it's almost the same thing. It cancels each other out. And he would have been like, it's true.
Right.
My favorite thing is when I'm talking to him and he goes, I'll say this. Does he ever do that with you?
Oh, yeah. Of course.
I'll do it back. I'll go, well, I'll say this.
Wait. One more thing. That's where to go. Wait. One more thing.
But I'll say this.
I'll say this. One more thing.
All right. Stephanie, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. And
Merry Christmas.
I appreciate you.
Too, everybody. Oh, well, we appreciate you, Royce.
Well, don't give him the packages when they finally arrive in July.
What, did you put them on the slow boat?
I called up the mail and I said, do me a favor.
Uh-huh.
Walk slow.
Mm-hmm.
So if Ellis is hearing this,
happening.
the message has been received because there's 2 packages coming.
Oh, 2?
Yeah, he's only gotten 1 so far, right?
Spoiling him. Talk about spoiling him.
It's not. He shook me down. It wasn't it's not spoil. I was shook down.
You were beat down.
Yeah, because you know what happens? I go live from my living room and he starts.
You got woodpeck.
No, yeah, he starts eyeing things in the background. He goes, "What's that? Is that tied down?" You know. So I sent him a plush Mickey.
Gotta laugh.
Stephanie, the day that I put it in the mail, he called me. The day I put it in the mail, he called me and asked me where it was. I'm like, I just dropped it off. I'll talk to you later.
Boy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Talk to you soon. Take care.
She was probably trying to get off that call 20 minutes ago. What the question that I posed, which we'll get into another time, that was not the time to ask it, but I was trying to keep the ball in the air, and she did great with the pivot. But, I like the idea of providing a little insight, because we laugh, but there's always a good story behind every laugh. So thank you for calling in, Stephanie. Oh my gosh, tears in my eyes. 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. She's going to text me about that AirTag comment. I have a feeling that may have been a line too far. Yeah. All right, we got to do the sponsors. Are you looking to spice up your kitchen this holiday season? Pampered Chef has all the goodies from spatulas and mandolins to amazing pots, pans, and knives. Plus, don't miss out on small appliances like the deluxe air fryer and coffee maker to make your holiday cooking a breeze. Reach out to Colleen Herman, pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman, pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman today. Are you on vacation and the unthinkable happens? Have you been injured in an accident? Don't wait to get the help you deserve when you need it the most at the law offices of Nicole M. Kennedy. They fight for your rights and work tirelessly to get you the compensation you deserve. They're here to guide you through every step. Call now, 305-213-5438 for a free consultation today. That's the law offices of Nicole M. Kennedy. I had to catch my breath. 305-213-5438. Last minute shipping from the parks. Go visit my friends at the UPS store, 6526 Old Brick Road, located right behind the Magic Kingdom. Tell them Joe Coconut sent you. They're going to help you out, not just with last minute shipping from the parks, but if you're local, they've got a notary and P.O. boxes as well. Now, if you're looking to travel, my friend William.bailey will help you out. You can go to my website or you can email him at william.bailey@academytravel.com. He'll help you plan your next vacation, not only with a customizable itinerary, but he'll also provide competitive rates. That's William.bailey@academytravel.com. And sometimes we are so worried about this life and this moment, we forget to plan. for the life for those we leave behind. With no estate plan, you could be leaving those you love the most with high taxes, probate fees, and an incomplete or divided estate and legal fights and fees. A will or trust is not just for the Rockefellers anymore. If you live in Florida, contact RK Law today to make an appointment and safeguard the future of those you love. Send an email to russell@rklawpro.com, russell@rklawpro.com to schedule your appointment today. I got to meet Russell the other day, finally. I've spoken to Russell many, many times. Russell told me a story, and I don't think he'll mind me sharing. Russell went to Jollywood. Had his daughter with him. There was a non-alcoholic beverage. She's, I guess, 14. It said 0 proof, non-alcoholic. So they went up and he ordered one for her. And as they're leaving, she said, you know what? I think I want one more. That was good. He said, okay. So they go back and the bartender said, hold on, I can't serve that to her. There's alcohol in it. He said, excuse me? He said, yeah, well, it says 0 proof, non-alcoholic, but that's a mistake. It's very confusing. I can't serve that to you. Because the other bartender didn't even mention it, didn't ask for ID, nothing. I said, are you kidding me? I said, that's a lawsuit. That reminds me of the flourless, gluten-free cake at Starbucks that turned out to not be flourless or gluten-free. You know, it's one thing to make a mistake. It's another thing to not properly vet something that could be the difference between life and death for someone. Not serving alcohol to someone because of their age is one thing. Mislabeling food and drink and having a lack of understanding of what you're serving people can be fatal. It happened at that box lunch event with that poor woman, Dominique. It happens all the time. I remember being on that flight a few weeks ago and them expressing no wheat, no peanuts. You know, they were trying to help somebody out. And I understand sometimes the companies do that purely because it's a liability and they don't actually care. They're just trying to protect their tuchus. But how does that happen in Walt Disney World where there are parents with kids all day long? You have a sign on an alcoholic beverage that says 0 proof, non-alcoholic, and it's got alcohol in it, and you're serving it to minors? And management's there. Management doesn't say anything about it. Management doesn't, nothing. What happens if that not only occurs with a minor, but somebody that, God forbid, is allergic to whatever you're putting in that drink, and you didn't clarify it? Wild to me. Wild to me. I asked him to call in and share the story directly, but I also have a radio show to do, so I wanted to bring that up. I can't believe. I can believe it happened, sadly. Nothing surprises me. He didn't. I don't believe he did anything about it. I think he just kind of walked away. Or perhaps it was too late when he realized. But that's an issue. And that could be a critical issue. I don't know if anyone's had any experiences like that in Disney or otherwise. Food allergies are a serious thing. To me, that's not just an alcohol issue. That's a much bigger, that's a dietary thing. You know, that could be way, way worse of a situation Thankfully, it wasn't. 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. Typically, Disney's pretty good with that stuff. They're on top of that stuff. That was something. I couldn't believe that. So if he calls in, we'll get his version of that story. That's kind of what he told me, but it was nice to meet him. It was nice to sit down and chat with him for a minute. And, you know, after years of doing this, I've really, really minimized the amounts of time that I spend engaging with the audience outside of the live. I like doing this thing here on the phones, 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. I used to respond to every Instagram message. Everything. Because I thought, if people take the time to message me, I'll respond. Time is a funny thing. And now I try not to respond to anything. I don't even like Discord. Most people know that. I don't even like commenting on the Discord. And in fact, I'm going to probably comment less in the Discord and start using the broadcast channel more. Because why? Why? There's 9 times out of 10, it winds up biting you in the tuchus. And then on top of that, like the messages I get are just wild. And even talking about it now, I will get messages saying, well, I don't know if you were talking about me. I just wanted to clarify, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh my God. The live just ended. I got half a dozen messages. I don't need them. I don't mind the hello or check out this article, stuff like that. If after doing 4 or 5, 6 hours of a live, 3 hours of a radio show, you think I remember what I said. Because a lot of these messages, and there's many, will be talking about something that was said. I don't remember. And I don't listen to the replays. So I'm just full disclosure. I don't remember. We'll talk for 3 hours today, maybe. Although that's an hour and 48 more minutes. I don't know how I'm going to pull that off without you calling in. 253-263-1540. 253-263-1540. But I don't remember. And I get these messages. And some of these messages are absurd. You wouldn't want to respond to them anyway. You're on the air. Who's this?
Hey, Royce, it's Colleen. How are you?
Hello, Colleen. How are you? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I only have a couple minutes because I have a doctor's appointment I have to run to, but I have a funny story for you that I thought you would enjoy.
All right, well, you called me, and now there's a time constraint, but go on.
Well, no, but I didn't want to forget, and no one was calling in, and so I thought I'd help you out.
I appreciate
it. It kind of ties into the Olive Garden story from before.
Ooh, sequel. Go on.
But it's recent. So my husband and I, Jerry and I, went to a Red Wings game, hockey, in Detroit, and we always park in the same parking garage. And we always park at the same end of the parking garage, you know, because it's closer to the arena and all this stuff. With my knee, it's important. And I wasn't paying attention, and he just parked by the elevator, and I said, okay. And so we ended up parking on the opposite side, like the wrong side of the garage. And I was kind of, you know, being mean, pitching a fit. Like, are you serious? He's like, do you want me to move the car? I said, no. He's like, well, how about when we get out, you go up the right elevator and I'll come find you. I said, are you kidding me? You'll get lost and be halfway home before you realize I'm not in the car. And he goes, God, I wish Royce would have unlocked that memory.
Oh, no. See, I don't want to get brought up in those moments.
It was just, I laughed so hard. I was crying.
No.
I was laughing so hard. And she was laughing. He thought it was fun. It was a joke, but it was just so funny. He's like,
Still.
You didn't remember that for years. And all of a sudden, now you think I'm going to forget you. I'm like, well, you did what?
Oh, sorry, sir. Ay. You see what I'm talking about? Colleen, I get messages from multiple people telling me they had dreams about me. I don't want to be in your dreams. I'm not doing cameo appearances.
Hey, at least I haven't done that.
I feel like you have. I
have not.
Oh, okay, good. Good. I don't know. I trust your word.
I know the boundaries.
Well,
I know the boundaries.
I mean, do you? Do any of us anymore? Who knows?
That's a good question.
Okay, I will say this. Oh, no, excuse me. Let me say this. Wait, what is Ellis? I'll say this. That's what he says. I'll say this. I went to get these bread pans yesterday.
Yeah.
Which I accidentally called bed pans. And I looked at the woman and said, where are the bed pans? And I said, excuse me, bread pans. And so that was kind of
my
funny.
gosh.
Yeah. Sorry. Wrong aisle. And so I got them. And I was going to make bread last night, but I got so busy with the Legos that I'm going to make the bread today.
Watching. I was waiting.
I'm sorry. But I it was like midnight. So I want to make sourdough because I want to use it to make breakfast sandwiches.
Yeah.
So I'm just really bringing this up because you're on the phone and you sent me the sourdough mix.
Yeah.
So I think later today, Colleen, I'm going to make some sourdough bread. And I bought some cake mix. We'll make some cupcakes. I just like it. I don't know. I know it's got nothing to do with Disney, but it's like I liked it. And you sent me stuff. It was so sweet. And so I don't really care anymore. I'm just going to do it.
I figure if you're going to bake, you might as well use easy stuff, and our stuff's easy to make.
Well,
so
I prepped.
And that's the whole point. So
I was pulling stuff out of the cupboard, and I saw your measuring cups, and I was like, can you imagine if I don't pull out these measuring cups, and then I tell her that I can't find them? Like, I will get eaten alive by the entire chat. If I'm like, I don't know where Colleen's measuring cups. I can't find them. Oh, my God. The chat would go nuts. But I thought about it.
I'm glad. Well, my daughter, who's 23 and a nurse, put out in our Amazon cart like all this stuff that she wanted for Christmas. So we could buy stuff, because she's hard to buy for. And in it was these stupid like $2 measuring cups. I was like, are you kidding me right now?
She doesn't have the link to your website?
She has the key to my entire stock in my basement. I have hundreds of pieces of Pampered Chef that I've earned for free that I can't get rid of.
Really? Do you have a mixer? Do you have a pasta maker?
I don't have a mixer sitting around in my house, just sitting around. I use mine.
No, I know. But do you remember Ron Popeil? Ron Popeil?
No.
Ron Popeil was like the home gadget guy. He did like the set it and forget it rotisserie oven. He did the pasta maker. He did the food dehydrator.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with that stuff growing up. Like,
yeah.
I always wanted a pasta maker. Because, Colleen, it looks so easy. You just crack an egg, you throw in flour, you mix it. 3 minutes later, it's making pasta.
It's not easy. I have an attachment with my mixer. It's not easy.
It looks really easy when Ron Popeil does it. And then he makes chocolate pasta for the kids. I used to watch these things like crazy growing up. So I just pictured your basement. You just got like a stock of like appliances, like pasta makers, mixers, deep fryers.
No, it's more baking pans, spatulas, all that kind of like. All that kind. I do have an extra air fryer in my basement, so when ours goes out, I can have one.
But you don't.
Technically, Christmas birthday gift last year.
But obviously, you don't have to hold inventory.
No, I don't have to. Right. No, so as a consultant and as a director, I earn like 2 full fall or spring lines. So I get like one to use and one to give away, but there's only so much you can give away.
Exactly. So. Believe me, I get it. I still got a wall of video games I can't get rid of. So last thing, I'll let you go. You sent me a beer battered bread or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mix and beer. That's pretty much it. Or any kind of sparkling. It doesn't have to be beer. It can be any kind of sparkling. Thing like pop or anything.
Yeah, but like no. Is that just like what do you do with that kind of bread?
You eat it like normal.
Well, I know you eat it, but I mean like it's not sandwich bread.
It could be.
It could be sandwich bread.
It could be. Yeah.
These are the things that keep me up at
You
night.
have to make it and try it.
I look at this bag. I go, what am I supposed to, what do you do? Where's this bread? Like, I understood where the mocha bread plugged in, right? It's kind of like a desserty thing. Have a cup of coffee. I know where the sourdough plugs into my life, but the beer battered bread, I stared at this bag. I go, where does this fit into my life?
Well, I think you're going to have to make it and try and figure that out and let us all know.
All right. Sponsored by Yingling.
It's not as fun if I tell you.
All right. Well, thanks for nothing. No, actually, thank you for everything. Thank you for everything. Apologies to your husband. Merry Christmas to all of you. And
Merry
Pampered
Christmas,
Chef.
Royce, and everyone listening.
Yeah, go check out Colleen Herman. It's pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. And I memorized that, Colleen. I say it in my sleep. I'll talk to you later.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Colleen's so sweet. So sweet. And Colleen is a viewer that's been around forever, is here through this evolution. And, Colleen, I don't think she'll mind me saying this because we were talking and I, was talking about how, because Ellis brought this up the other night. He goes, well, I think I know why you're not in the park. So I'm like, well, there's really no science to it. But Colleen had made the comment to me. She's like, there was a brief period of time where I stopped even watching Disney Live. She goes, I don't know why. She goes, I enjoy what you're doing over here, this other stuff. And I really have come to just enjoy hanging out. And I know that the park experience is something that people enjoy. And it's not going anywhere. But I feel like I'm playing with a new palette of colors in just doing everything from sitting on camera and opening up products to just chatting to, obviously we do the gaming. We've been doing that for a while. To just whatever silly thing, making bread in the kitchen, whatever silly thing it is. And there was a time where I would have struggled to equate that to Disney. And I think what I've learned is that it is just the time we spend together outside of the park. And even if we haven't been into the park terribly much, that time is still there to be spent. So rather than not being live, we can do these other things. And I've just come to really enjoy doing the variety, having done the same thing for 4 years. So it's not that I don't want to get back to the park and I'm working on all these technical things, but I'm not in a rush. And with the holiday crowd, been there, done that. The desire to be in the park on New Year's Eve is not, I feel like this year would be so cool to not be in the park on New Year's Eve. I'm not saying I wouldn't be on property, but like to be sandwiched between people in Epcot with the signal lagging, I don't feel the need. And I have to say, it would be a lot easier for me just to do the same thing over and over and over again. It's a lot harder to branch out and to do different things because you're going backwards to go forward in more ways than one. That's the metrics, that's the revenue, it's all of it, right? But I think it's worth it in the long run. I love having Ellis's mom call in and share stories like that. It provides a whole nother level of depth to having Ellis on the show in this world that is not his. It's a shared world, Ellis. 253-263-1540. 253-263-1540. I have a note here about the TikTok ban. I feel like we've addressed the TikTok ban more than enough. I did a little State of the Channel podcast yesterday, about a 20-minute deal. Go listen to that. I don't think there's much more to say on the TikTok ban. If anybody has any more questions you want to call in, so be it. We can talk about that. I have a note here to talk about how much I can't stand Discord. I feel like we've talked about how much I can't stand Discord. I really can't stand Discord. I would get rid of it in a heartbeat, but in many ways, it's necessary. Oh, I do want to thank everybody for the gift. Speaking of Discord, it's very sweet, unnecessary. It's very generous audience. And I recognize that Discord is more there for you all at this point. I'll comment sometimes and nobody even responds. It's fine. But it's very generous, unnecessary. Please don't do it next year. And don't do it for my birthday. And I mean that sincerely. It's not worth it. It's not worth the aggravation for you all. It's very, very sweet, but just don't do it. Very, very sweet, very, very generous. But I just would rather people, it's fine. It's not necessary. So I was starting to talk about these messages I get before the phone rang. And in many ways, Colleen derailed the story about these messages that I get about people saying, oh, I had a dream. You're in my dream. You're in my dream. And it's not just one person. I've had multiple people call me and be like, oh, I had a dream. You're in this dream of mine. I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do with that? And I can't respond to that. I don't want to respond to that. So I just think sometimes, I'm just better off not responding at all. Like, there are some messages I get that are literally like micro updates from people. And I'm like, I don't, why are you telling me? Like, it's sweet. Like, I appreciate the message. Like, I used to love messaging everybody. Like, I used to love it. Right. But then what happens is there's a turning point that occurs. So the real gripe I have with Discord is that it becomes an extension of the parasocial relationship that social media creates. And then it's like, even when you attempt to communicate, it backfires. Well, I'm going to be on later. Well, where are you? You're not on. Did he say he's going to be on later? What do you got planned for today? You tried something out on another platform. I didn't really like that. Well, guess what? Like, okay. So now what I find is it's just another place for opinions. Unsolicited opinions. And I'm like, I got Instagram. I got YouTube. I got TikTok. I'm on Twitter. I got plenty of places for unsolicited opinions. You can even comment on the podcast. So at a certain point, I look at Discord and I go, ugh. And then I have that broadcast channel. And I'm like, I love that broadcast channel because I could say something. And sometimes you can see that you got all these views and people didn't even like what you said. They just read it. And I'm like, that's fine too. I don't even care. I love the broadcast channel. I'm going to start using it more. It's on Instagram. It's great. Nobody can comment back. It's fantastic. I say something. It's like Twitter without comments. I say something. At the most, you like it. I was even thinking about making a little video message just for the broadcast channel. But Discord, oh my gosh. Who invented Discord? And clearly it's for gamers. But I don't like it. I don't like it. Leah gives me a hard time because I say, you want comms? First of all, it's communications. But we're so busy, we can't say communications. We got to shorten it to comms. Use the phone. Use the phone. It's perfectly good. Why do I have to add a whole nother layer of an app that may or may not work with a whole bunch of channels I'm never going to use? I mean, the Discord's I posted in the wrong channel the other day on Discord. It's my Discord. I posted in the wrong channel. I didn't even know until the next day. It's like, no wonder nobody saw it. I posted like a podcast update in the food channel. Listen, somebody should buy Discord up and shut it down. That and Microsoft Teams. I can't stand Microsoft Teams. I had a client once. We're texting. I asked a question. No, well, I'll message that to you on Microsoft Teams. No, message it to me right here. We're right here. Why do I have to leave this app to go into another app to get the answer to the question that I've already asked? I don't care if the file's in Teams. You go to Teams and you drop it in the text thread. I'm having a whole conversation with you over here. Imagine doing that in real life. Imagine you're sitting in somebody's office and you're like, well, Bill, so how about that widget? And Bill's like, well, I'll tell you what. Let's go downstairs to the conference room and finish this conversation. You're like, why? We're sitting right here. I don't get it. Message me here. Even in the TikTok shop, they're like, oh, sir, thank you for messaging us back about this product sample. What's your WhatsApp? I'm like, I don't have a WhatsApp. I got an email. That's it. I got an email. How many apps do I have to check every day? This goes back to the content quality conversation about access and consumption. You ever just find yourself, I mean, I'll do it, right? I'll like the other morning, Okay, there's nothing I love more than getting up super early. And by 8:30 in the morning, it was Sunday morning, I was up at like 6:30 something. By 8:30 in the morning, I had my coffee, I had packed up packages, I responded to a couple messages. I had done most of my list. Because I make lists. Every day I have a list. And it's like the day's just starting, and I feel like I've already accomplished something. You know what I mean? I feel like I've already accomplished something. 253-263-1540. 253-263-1540. But then you find yourself like, okay, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a breather. And then all I do is I sit down and I'm like parachuting between apps. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, email. Make sure the new podcast is uploaded. Check the new podcast is uploaded. Go over to my Instagram. Share it on my Instagram. Go over to Discord. Let them know that I posted over there. Go back to Twitter. Scroll for 3 seconds on Twitter. Go back and then check my stocks. And then go back over there and check my crypto. And then go back into my email and check my email. And then back into the Instagram again. Might as well go back into TikTok and see if they approved any of my sample requests. Like, it just, and you find yourself doing all of that. And it's all those little tiny hits. And there's no quality. It's all just overconsumption. Too much access. Too many things. No quality. And I catch myself all the time, but I'm a human being. I'm just aware of it. Doesn't mean that I don't participate in it, because I absolutely do. I think we all spend too much time on social media. And of course, I'm saying this on a platform that is social media, but I think we all spend too much time on social media, and not everything needs to be a comment. Now, what I enjoy about the idea of the broadcast channel is I can say what I got to say and get out. It doesn't even invite me back. At the most, I can see if people have engaged with it, and I don't even really care at that point, because all I really care about is getting the message out, and there's 700 and some people in there, and they'll get the message. It's kind of what I like about the newsletter. Those that really want to get it will get it, and I would like that the newsletter in the new year increases in value for the reader. I'd like to crack that finally. But I'm starting to realize that the value of just like this platform and doing the channel update yesterday, the long form conversation with the audience is great, but then there's also some real value in being able to just broadcast out a thought and not have it be critiqued by, a dozen people. And I'm talking Discord. I'm not even talking social media, where you put a video up on TikTok and there's 500 people commenting. There's no way you paid that much for a cookie. The cookie's only $3.25. Yeah, guess what? I have a receipt. You're not there. 253-263-1540. 253-263-1540. I don't know how it's only 90 minutes into the show. So I think when it comes to the Rivers Project, and I'm going to go back to something I said at the top of the show, because it's been brought to my attention, and I know that there was some other back and forth with the permits. But it's kind of been brought to my attention that more than likely, at least the front-facing aspect of the river will be incorporated into whatever new land they build. To what extent, I don't know. But it seems to me that that's the way things are headed. From all of my different sources. Now, I don't know what that actually will look like. Part of me wants to look at the concept art and go, well, how are they going to make that work? The concept art doesn't mean boop. It's been stated to me time and time again, and I think we all know this without it even needing to be stated, that the concept art is just purposely deceiving. 626, you're on the air. Who's this? Well, they hung up. So if that is the case, at least from a thematic perspective, if they can keep all of Frontierland and Liberty Square intact, then maybe there's hope, right? Because if the front chunk of the river remains, even if the riverboat does not, if the front chunk of the river remains and they can find a way to accomplish what they want, which is, I guess, creating access back there, and I don't know how much they could push the ride back. I don't even know what the thought is, because again, concept art is concept art, right? But if they can preserve that, then I think that there's hope. My concern with taking that river out wholly is that you start to encroach into Liberty Square, and then Liberty Square is next. But honestly, at this point, like, my hands are up in the air. What can you do? What can you do? When you look at a company that has no shortage of demand, what can you do? And this is one of the reasons that I really wanted to start, not get away from Disney, but just add to the conversation, because it's just become so exhausting. So exhausting on all fronts. On all fronts. It's become just hyper exhausting. Dealing with the reaction to the company, dealing with the quote unquote Disney adults, all of it has just become, over the years, very, very exhausting. And I think if you look at where we're headed for the next 4 years of our lives in this country, there are going to be way bigger fish to fry and far more important issues to focus on. So that's where my mind is at. That's where my heart is at. I stated it yesterday. But for me, it's going to be a quality over quantity proposition. I don't care if it's less viewers, if we're doing something more productive. I am more interested in this podcast and the educational aspect to what we're going to do than anything else, than any park live streams, anything. I'm more interested in the animatronics and the 3D printing and the robotics and the development of that kind of tech and introducing that to the audience, the DIY side of the channel, and the podcast, and getting guests on and having conversations like that. I'm far more interested in those kind of conversations. I have this note here. It says, spell out the park's lack of growth. And at first, I didn't know what that note meant. And I thought, well, if I say it out loud, it might ring a bell. And part of the desire to grow and widen not just the output, not just the variety of content, but widen the audience. I've said 100 times, I didn't expect to be here. We're here. So we're going to continue to grow, right? That's what you want to do. But when I started, the parks were really, really good as not just a mental escape, but they were really, really good growth. And I would notice that, if I did one show a night, I could get X amount of followers. If I did 2 shows a night, I could get X amount of followers. And I started doing the monorail run. And I knew, oh my gosh, if I work my butt off, I can get all of these followers. So I would grind it out in the pursuit of growth. Right? It wasn't in the pursuit of money, because in the early days, I wasn't even trying to monetize. So in the early days, those 15-hour streams, those 2 shows a night, I was doing it for the growth. I was doing it for the mental health escape, but I was pursuing growth, not revenue. You understand? Now, those growth opportunities are far and few between for a variety of reasons. It's a lot of inside baseball, which I'm not going to necessarily get into. If somebody asked, I'd answer. So when you look at that, and you go, all right, well, if you can't get the growth out of what you've been doing for 4 years, you need to get the growth from elsewhere. In other words, I started with something over here, built up an audience, but you can't, but if you maxed out, okay, And yeah, you could do the same thing over and over again every single day with the same people over and over again and not worry about growth. And if you're just on TikTok and you're just using the revenue streams that TikTok provides for the content creator, then you're just working the same mechanisms over and over and over again. But if you're a businessman, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're really looking to do this from the long-term perspective, and I've always, and anyone that knows me personally knows, I've always talked about this as a long-term proposition. Hence going for growth before I ever went for revenue. But now that we're in a different realm 4 years into this, you've got to find that growth through other means. So abandoning the parks is a strong sentiment. Devaluing the parks might be a better phrase. I think that the value of the parks, as much as they may be fun, after 4 years, the value of the parks for the future of the channel has been reduced heavily because the upside has been reduced. So if the growth isn't there, okay, if the audience has plateaued, okay, to the point that you literally are inviting people to stop watching, then you got to start to diversify. And that's the name of the game in anything you do. And I've been eyeing a lot of these things that we're just starting to do now for quite some time. So they're not new, they're just new to you. But this notion of, oh, where did you go? Why no more parks, taking a break from the parks? It's got nothing to do with the parks. It's got to do with the growth of the channel. The parks were always a means, and I love the parks, but it was a means to escapism. Right? It was a means to escapism, then it became a means to growth. Then from a means to growth, it became a means to revenue. But then when you look at that and you go, okay, well, I've accomplished that one, I've accomplished that one, I've accomplished that one. Well, now how do I grow further? How do I diversify my growth? How do I diversify my audience? How do I diversify my revenue? Now you have to expand. You have to go outside of what you've built. I think T-Pain makes more money as a gaming streamer than he made making music. I'm sure he's got a lot of people watching him stream, playing games, that probably never listened to his music, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that listen to his music that never followed him over to streaming games. So when you look at yourself and you look at what you're building, you realize that you got to focus on you, okay, and the rest will fall into place. You can't worry about the viewer. Okay, nobody that is truly focused on what they're doing worries about the viewer. They worry about what they're putting out. They worry about their own internal logic set. They worry about their immediate plan. They worry about their 2-year. They worry about their 5-year. You don't worry about the audience. What is the audience going to think? Yeah, there's always that notion of, oh my gosh, are they going to watch? I hope they like it. But you don't worry. You don't make your decisions based off of that. You're supposed to do what works for you and people will follow. So if I don't feel like going to the parks on Christmas because I don't feel like being in the parks on Christmas, it's got nothing to do with Disney and everything to do with I would rather just hang out with those that want to hang out from the comfort of my home. Make some hot chocolate. Have some fun. And that becomes the evolution. But in the early days, I wasn't doing the live for the audience. I was doing the live for me as escapism. The audience was a byproduct. Then I saw the potential, and I devoted more of my time to doing what I was doing to build up that audience. Okay? The idea of doing 2 fireworks shows a night wasn't because I liked running around like a chicken without a head. It was because I knew there was a growth opportunity. But it was always always been about the channel. Even if the channel has a Disney component, it's always been about the channel, whether it was the DIY stuff. I mean, when I originally started the channel, it was Disney Parks Live. When the DIY video took off, I changed the name to DIY because it was about the channel. I never changed it back. Nobody noticed. Nobody cared. Many people think DIY means doing Disney yourself, like figuring out yourself. So it fits. But it's one of those things. It's kind of funny because if we weren't here, then it means we would have failed. and we would have done a couple years in the parks, and we would have packed up our bags and gone home and gotten a real job. Because I assure you, this is not a real job. But we're here. So then you go, all right, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to stick around? You got to diversify. If all your eggs are in one basket, you're doomed. We used to do these radio shows back in the day. I used to hesitate to do them on TikTok. I did them on Instagram. Because in the early days, I thought, all they want is Disney Lives on TikTok. Now I'm like, no, you expect me. It's me. It's, I'm the guy on the channel, so it's okay. In the early days, I wouldn't do any of those things. Now, all I'm trying to do is break what I built. And I'm very confident in that philosophy. I can't say it enough. I can't explain it enough. So there's no like, I'm taking a break from the parks, or I'm just doing what I feel like doing. I'm literally just doing what I feel like doing. If I feel like going to the park, I'm going to go to the park. If I feel like cooking in the kitchen, and there's a certain group in the audience that has just freed me up to do that. So I thank you for that. But that's just where I'm at. I'm going to do whatever I feel like doing. If there's 80 people that watch, so be it. If there's 500 people that watch, so be it. I'm just going to do whatever I feel like doing. And that's what the TikTok channel is going to evolve into. Now, the other platforms are going to have their own identity, and I think at some point there'll be some overlap. But in the grand scheme of things, whatever adventure, whatever experience I'm taking the audience on, that experience will be shared on a multitude of platforms. Whether we're doing a live stream and then debriefing about it on the podcast and taking calls or whatever, whether it's pulling out a clip and sharing it elsewhere, whether it's putting up a replay on YouTube or streaming it on a different platform or TV, whatever. If you look at the model, it is lifestyle creator, not Disney content creator. It is lifestyle creator. It's really not that hard to wrap your head around. Now, I say that after spending months thinking about it. But it's just, it's lifestyle creator, right? That's it. That's what we're doing here. 253-263-1540. So are you done with the parks? You're never going to go to the park? No, I don't know. I'm going to do whatever I feel like doing. I never said I would stream Walmart, and I don't think I will, mainly because I don't want people to know which Walmart I'm in. But, if I was walking in a store in Tokyo like we've done, I got no problem streaming it. You know what I mean? It's just taking the audience on an experience. The underlying factor, the common denominator, is this past 4 years, these Disney Park Lives, they were there for a lot of people. They got a lot of people through a lot of things. And for those that want to hang and just be around familiar faces, have new experiences, maybe go revisit some old experiences, great, thanks. Thanks for sticking with me. For those that don't, they go, all I ever wanted was now I'm just saying the same thing I said yesterday. But for anybody that just said, oh, all I really wanted was the parks, that's all I wanted was the parks, well, they do sell tickets. And if that's not going to get it done, we've got TVRemix.com, and there's 100,000 other people doing it. And that's the other part of it, folks, is I'm not one to become, I just don't like doing what everyone else is doing. As soon as it becomes an oversaturated trend, I'm running in the next direction. I'm running in the opposite direction. I'm all about finding what's next. I'm all about being on the front of something and unearthing something new and discovering new things and breaking through new barriers as opposed to following trends. I don't know how to say it any other way. I set trends. I don't follow trends. And I have a history of that from the arcade business on. Literally responsible for the Los Angeles free play arcade boom. Okay? And you know what we've done here on TikTok with the park lives. Not the first person to stream from a theme park live ever, but certainly kicked off the party on TikTok. So it is what it is. We move on. 610, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hey, Royce, it's Dave. How are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Oh, man, we got over the stir thing. Come on.
Oh, well, listen.
I'm just breaking stones. Hey, I don't have much other than just a couple things. One, I wanted to wish you Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
You as well.
And two, thank you for all that you've done this year. I think you hit it and I'm not going to recap, conversations that we've had before. You're growing and evolving a brand. The audience is getting ready, or is having the opportunity to watch an entrepreneur at work, and that's awesome. So I think the word that you used was escapism. For many of us, it's awesome, and for those that can I can key in and watch someone evolve and grow. That's pretty cool from a business standpoint. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And that's all I had, Royce.
Oh, I thought you were going to say more. Listen.
No. I said I didn't have much from the get-go, so I'll turn it over to you.
It's one of those things, though, where normally, there's a certain amount of that you got to do behind closed doors. Like a lot of the IP stuff, just wrapping my head around that. I mean, it's a lot. You can't have an audience. You can't. But I like the idea of sharing some of the process. And I understand that, without the radio show, with the radio show aside, that makes the schedule a bit erratic. I'd like to be doing some more marathon streaming again soon. I really enjoy those stretches of marathon streaming. But I need discovery time. I'm a list maker. So there's things on my list I would like to get done today. And if it doesn't mean that I don't come back on till later, so be it. But this is not my normal. Like, I'm still trying to get my legs and figure out a schedule, but I don't have the benefit of having a team behind me. So I don't know any network engineers, you know what I mean? So I had to give myself a crash course on stuff that I did not know the other day. And it's fine. I'm all for it, and I love learning. But at that point, if I'm done with that, and all I feel like doing is popping on the live on my couch and saying what's up to everybody, that's all I have to give.
And I think you're spot on, right? Those that are cool with just popping in and chilling and checking out what's going on. It's awesome, right? I mean, that's great, and you'll continue to grow an audience from that, and I think that your followers will continue to grow and acclimate to the net new, right? I mean, or the net matured, right? So, I mean, I think, as I said, at the end of the day, it's really, really cool. It's really, really cool. And I'm sure, talking about, entrepreneurs and business on the day before Christmas Eve is probably boring everybody. But I just wanted to say thank you. And I hope you have a great holiday season.
Well, you too, sir. And a Happy New Year.
Thank you. And Happy New Year to you. I'll stay on and listen to the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, and you just teed me up for a story because you're talking about entrepreneurship and New Year's Eve. But when I had the arcade business, I can only remember Christmas Eve being in the warehouse because whatever order had to get out, there was nobody else was left. And whether it was myself or, I had Megan helping me at the time, you would be the last man standing. And that's why I would say to my employees is, you don't work for me, I work for you. Because when it's Christmas Eve and you're home with your family, I'm in the warehouse making sure this order gets out. And I remember very, very stressful moments of trying to get orders out. And when you're a business guy, when you're the owner and everything falls in your lap, so now you're like, oh my gosh, I got to go from putting my head inside this arcade game to doing the electrical stuff on it, to rolling on the side art, from rolling on the side art to packing up the truck, from doing that to the invoicing. And then when I'm done all that, I got to go home and run payroll. So the life of an entrepreneur, to Dave's point, he said, oh, it's Christmas, day before Christmas Eve, who wants to talk about entrepreneurship? But an entrepreneur wants to talk about entrepreneurship because it never stops. It never stops. And I'm telling you, I know that grind. And whether it's been doing it through the arcade business or through streaming, I've done it. And I just have to tell you, I don't feel like doing it this year. I know how to grind. I know how to work hard. Okay? But I don't feel like doing it this year. I feel like having a very relaxed holiday season and just sitting around and having some laughs with the audience, and that's going to be the end of it. I really don't feel like running around dealing with a bunch of crowded people who don't know how to cover their mouth when they cough, fighting for signal, to do the same thing we've done over and over again when we could do something completely different. Two 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. So I went to Walmart to get the bread pan because I wanted to do something different, right? And keep those kitchen lives going. Why do I choose to go to Walmart during the holidays is beyond my comprehension. It is like the worst thing you could do. Even the girl at self-checkout was like, "What are you doing? Why are you here?" And I'm like, "I know." But there's a Dunkin' in the Walmart, and it's a good excuse because I don't care. I don't, if you're a coffee drinker, you're going to understand what I'm about to say. I'll make cold brew at home. I'll make espresso at home. I'll steep a pot with a French press. For some reason, there's something about going out and getting a cup of coffee. And there's something particularly about the iced coffee that I get from Dunkin', even more than the Starbucks, that just tastes better than anything at home. Even if it's the same beans. And I don't know if it's the process, and this is such like a Larry David, Jerry Seinfeld thing, but I don't know if it is just the act of going to get it that makes it taste better or if it actually tastes better. But there's something that I enjoy around 2 o'clock in the afternoon when I feel like I've gotten my whole day done. All right. And I could walk. I drive. I could walk. All right. Take a little bit, 20 minutes. But there's something about just that habit of getting in the car, walking in, waiting for it, getting it, that first sip on the wall. I don't know why it tastes different to me, but there's just something that tastes different. And I'm working myself up to wanting one now. But there's something that tastes different about that cup of coffee than anything from the house. So I go to the Dunkin' yesterday. I need to get a bread pan, and I'll get a cup of coffee. And oh my gosh, the Walmart looked like it was being taken over by ants. I mean, you've never seen so much dreck. I mean, you really look at it. I'm walking down the Walmart aisle. They got bins of stuff for $15. Okay. You want New Year's Eve poppers? $2. I mean, basically, they got a bin for every denomination of bill in your pocket. All right. And you're walking through the Walmart, and it just looks like it's like walking through a landfill. All right. And it's just bins of crap from China. And it's like, do you have $5 on you? We got you. You have $10 on you? Check this out. 15? Oh, you have 25? How about this? You don't need any of it, but we're going to pretend like it's all on sale. And it's like all the way through the Walmart. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we don't need any of this stuff. Then I go to the sale aisle, and I bought a bunch of crap. So right away, I become the hypocrite. But I'm like, look at this. This is ridiculous. This is stupid. Who's going to buy all this crap? And then I go to the sale aisle, and I'm like, ooh, knockoff Beatles Legos. Licensed, half off. So it works. It works. It works. But I'm like, what is like? Why? Like, why do I go during 2 days before Christmas? 2 days before Christmas. But I like the routine. You know. When it's all said and done, it's been a great year. It's been a series of lessons. I think my biggest takeaway this year is just being yourself. I think my biggest learning experience has come from going to these TikTok events and looking at whether it's Eric or, Caitlin and Brady or Sharif, and looking at these people just being themselves with their audience and realizing that that is actually the quickest way to converting everything, right? That's the quickest way to converting followers. It's the quickest way to converting subscribers, converting gifters, whatever. But being yourself, Jamie makes the comment, oh, I loved you in the parks. You're all business, but she's, I like this version better. You get to be you. And I learned that this year. from a multitude of events, but watching those others do what they do best and just being themselves with their audience. And I think while broadcasting from the park has always been a professional proposition for me, even when we're having fun, because I don't want to step on the ride audio and I don't want to, I don't want to ruin the guest experience. Sitting in my living room, do whatever I want. I can get crazy, but I'm not going to do those things in public when people save up all year long to have a vacation and create memories with their family. I don't think that's the appropriate time to be yelling about, hitting a gift goal. I got no problem doing it from the comfort of my living room and goofing off with the audience. But there's a time and a place. So I think my lesson this year has been the true, because if you remember, and I think Paige said this once, but when I did that airport live, I like the camera, everybody from the event had the camera on them, and I was staring at a wall, and I'm like, this is stupid. The only thing stopping me from putting my face on camera is me, and all of my contemporaries are doing it. And I'm not saying I'd jump off a bridge if they were, but you're looking around and going, there's obviously value in it. And then I realized how personal that became. So that was my big takeaway. My big takeaway this year is that. And I will apply that to this channel in the new year and to all of our formats in the new year, is just, doubling down on that authenticity. Not that I've been inauthentic with the audience. I just think that I've held back. There's one thing to run around the parks and present them in a professional manner. It's another thing to be uptight and not know how to have fun. And I'd like to think I know how to have fun. I'd like to think. I'd also like to think that if you're ready to spice up your kitchen this holiday season, that you would go to Pampered Chef and check out all the goodies they've got, from spatulas and mandolins to amazing pots and pans and knives. Plus, don't miss out on their small appliances like the deluxe air fryer and the coffee maker. All of these goodies will make your holiday cooking a breeze, so reach out to Colleen Herman, pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman, pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. Are you on vacation and the unthinkable happens? Have you been injured in an accident? Don't wait to get the help you deserve when you need it the most at the law offices of Nicole M. Kennedy. They fight for your rights and work tirelessly to get you the compensation you deserve. They're here to guide you through every step of the way. Call now, 305-213-5438, 305-213-5438 for a free consultation. You don't pay unless they win. Last minute shipping from the parks. Did you buy that lightsaber and now you don't know how you're going to get on the airplane? Visit my friends at 6526 Old Brick Road. That's the UPS store located right behind the Magic Kingdom. Not only will they help you with that last minute shipping from the parks, but if you're local, they've got a notary and P.O. boxes as well as copy services. 6526 Old Brick Road. Tell them Joe Coconut sent you. They have no idea who he is. And as always, William.bailey Travel is there for you if you're looking to book a trip anywhere in the world, not just Disney, not just cruises, Disney cruises, anywhere in the world. William.bailey at academytravel.com, William.bailey at academytravel.com, or you can go to my website, royces.com, click the travel tile, fill out the form. And sometimes we are so worried about this life in this moment, we forget to plan for the life for those we leave behind. With no estate plan, you could be leaving those you love the most with high taxes, probate fees, and an incomplete or divided estate, and legal fights and fees. A will or trust, not just with the Rockefellers anymore. If you live in Florida, contact RK Law today to make an appointment and safeguard the future of those you love. Send an email to russell@rklawpro.com, russell@rklawpro.com to schedule your appointment today. So if you're in Florida and you're looking for estate planning services, russell@rklawpro.com. Sometimes I just like to read it really, really fast because it's fun. Makes me feel like I'm the Micro Machine guy. I can read them all really, really fast. Sometimes we're so worried about this life in this moment, we forget to plan for the life for those we leave behind. With no estate plan, you could be leaving those you love the most with high taxes, probate fees, and incomplete divided estate or legal fights and fees. With a will or trust, not just for Rockefellers anymore. If you live in Florida, contact RK Law Pro to make an appointment and safeguard the future for those you love. Send an email to rklawpro@rklawpro.com. That was almost right. You're welcome for the extra plug. Russell's a really good guy, though. Check out Russell Services if you are in Florida. 253-263-1540. I played a clip last week of one of my favorite talk show stories. And I have, there's this other clip I want to share with you all. I'm not even going to share it today. I'm just going to talk about it and tee it up for maybe tomorrow. But one of my other favorite talk show guests of all time was Norm Macdonald. And if you remember Norm was a comedian's comedian. Norm would take the most innocuous punchline and just stretch it. And if you weren't in on the joke, you didn't think it was funny. So I was doom scrolling, and this clip comes up, and not only is it the clip, it wasn't even the clip actually, it was talking about the clip. And Norm tells the story how he goes on Conan's show, and he does the first segment, and he gets ready to leave, and Conan's like, "Oh, you're gonna come back," and I guess he announced to the audience, like, "Oh, we'll be right back with more Norm Macdonald." And Norm's like, "What?" And Norm's like, "I don't have anything for the second act, for the second segment." And he remembers a joke that Colin Quinn told him, which was like a 10-second joke. And Norm stretched it into like a 7-minute joke. He stretched like a 1-sentence joke into a 7-minute joke in true Norm fashion. So I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go pull up this joke and watch it. And it's something I've seen 100 times. But just watching it, knowing that really Norm was like, I got to fill 7 minutes. All right, I'll just stretch this joke out, solving a problem. It is so funny. And it's just a story about a moth going to a psychiatrist. And and you like, I don't know. I don't really watch any of the stuff that's on anymore. You see clips on social media, but there's just classic talk shows. Even I would say Conan of his late night era, when it was Leno and Conan, that pairing was phenomenal. Before Conan left late night at NBC, everything after Conan's late night at NBC kind of went downhill. But that late night brand of humor was just spot on. Like when I was in college and Conan was on the top of his game. But the humor, Norm Macdonald, you're talking about some of the best talk show guests. Norm Macdonald, Kevin Nealon. And then if you really know your Conan history, there's the Paul Rudd appearances, which Kenzie and I have talked about, the Mac and Me stuff. But I love classic talk show moments. And I loved as a kid watching that stuff. I loved even reading on that stuff. There's an HBO movie called The Late Shift. The Late Shift is the story of Johnny's retirement and Leno and Letterman fighting to take over late night television. It's a great movie. It's a book. It's a movie. And then there's the follow-up to that as well. But if you don't know that movie, if you don't know that story, go check it out. The story about how a woman by the name of Helen Kushnick forced Johnny Carson out through the press. And then how NBC kind of went back and forth between Letterman and Leno. And it was a whole debacle. It was fascinating stuff. Now I see these clips from Fallon. I don't even really see clips from Colbert. I don't really see any clips from Colbert. Fallon seems to have the viral clips on lock, but it seems to be a lot of like game show bits and whatnot. I just miss those good old talk show stories, that Jay Thomas story on Letterman. Those are classic talk show moments. You go all the way back to Carson. There are stories, you can go back to segments on Johnny Carson that still hold strong today. Like you'll have tears rolling down your face from this stuff. Legendary moments in television talk history. And again, I think with a fragmented media landscape, unless something goes viral, which may not be for necessarily the right reasons, then we don't get to see it, right? We don't have that water cooler viewing effect where people walk in the next morning and go, oh, did you see Carson? There's a reason Johnny Carson lasted for 30 years. I don't know how many years Jimmy Fallon's been on. He's been on between his late night show and this. He's been on for a while already. It's kind of crazy to think about. Jimmy Kimmel's been on a long time already. But I don't know if anyone will ever hit Carson's numbers. Something to look at. I always think of these things around this time of year. I don't know why. I think I always correlate TV and the holidays. Maybe it's just because of the number of specials, and then, New Year's Eve on television, and, the parades, all these different things. But I always feel a certain sense of nostalgia with television during the holidays, whether it's these talk show clips, like that Jay Thomas clip, was always sort of like an annual holiday story. And I don't know, there was always just a nostalgia for me with TV and the holidays. And there's that feeling of wanting to get that hot cup of coffee, hot cocoa, whatever it is. Just, again, get on the couch and just, watch whatever. The parade, the news, a game, whatever. But that's how I feel. And even in Florida, I feel like it still feels like the holidays feel like winter to me. There's just something about, and maybe that's growing up in Pennsylvania, but there's something about Christmas that feels like snow, even here. I don't know. Just something about it, where you want to curl up on the couch with a blanket, hot coffee, hot cocoa kind of thing. Maybe that's what I'll do. Time will tell. I will see you later. I'm going to hang out with you on TikTok for a minute. Thank you, Stephanie, for calling in. Dave called in. Thank you for that. Colleen, thank you for your call as well. And we're going to wrap up the show. But I'll hang out with you on TikTok. Thank you all for listening today, and I'll see you next time.